Human being is just the description of a form, but being human is a tall order. In this video, I will share with you Principle 1. It has 4 steps, and it will show you how to go deep into yourself to take the highest form of self-responsibility. This principle is titled, Know Thyself. Who you are is not what you are, and I'll explain that shortly. When I observe someone, I see them as 4 distinct aspects of being human. The first is, I know that every one of us is energy. The second is that we have a brain. And the third is that we have a heart to feel emotions. And the fourth is this physical body. So it's as if there's an energy system or a Mother Nature or a God, by whatever name you'd like to call God by, that says, go my children. Bits of what it is that I am, energy, spirits, souls, come and visit the earth plane. For that you will get the gift of a physical body. But since God helped those who help themselves, you'll be endowed with a device called a brain with which to think with. And you'll have free will to think whatever it is you want to. But you'll become responsible for those thoughts by having corresponding emotions. So here we are, you and I and the rest of the human race, with 4 distinct aspects. The first, this energy that associates with neuron cells of the brain to think with, and as a result, dependent on the quality of information I, as an energy system, attach myself to, I have a good release of chemical or a lousy chemical that floods my bloodstream and makes me feel a particular way, and then a behavior ensues. So let me draw this so that we can have a better look at what I'm talking about. I am energy spirit that has a brain to think with, emotions to feel with, and a physical body to do things with. So I think, feel, and behave. And what is important to notice here is that there is a sequence. And that word is very important to me. There is a sequence for the creation of my life's experiences. So I, as an energy system, visiting this earth realm, using a physical body and these 2 instruments to help me visit here, there is a sequence to the creation of my life's experiences from top down, from nothing to something, from the metaphysical to the physical. So I am living in this body, and everywhere I go, I take my body with me. When I mismanage these 3 instruments, then I have mental, emotional, and physical disease. So the association from the spirit to the brain is purely electrical. One thought is an impulse of the energy that I am, attaching to information. Information is all around us. From the time we are born, we are observing the world that we come to. And from 0 to 7, it is said we are like sponges, the hypnotic years, where we are receiving information from the environment and our peers and our parents, and assimilating this information and storing it in our brain, in our subconscious mind. It's the data or the filing system. It's what the Jesuits say, give us a child from 0 to 7 and we'll show you the man, meaning that the neurocircuits established from those 0 to 7 years are so powerful that they dictate how we live our lives into our future. So the brain then becomes the computer that houses the information of who I am. What I am is energy. Who I am is the stories stored in my brain. And these stories then dictate my likes, dislikes, my habits, my personality. And if you look at that brain itself, if you take this one as your prefrontal cortex, that is where willpower is of the soul, of spirit. The will then associates with the environment, receives information and transfers it to the ancient brain where we store. And so the moment I communicate with you, you receive information, you immediately go into your subconscious, You dredge out information there that will either say, he's talking nonsense, or agree with me, or have some opinion or judgment, and so we go on with life, judging, having opinions, and so on. And it's very necessary to have all of that information stored in there because it was for survival. I mean, we would be extinct if we stood around looking at a lion rushing at us and wondering, oh, what beautiful fangs, what a beautiful swishing tail and flowing mane. Do I eat this or does this eat me? So all that information is stored in there about survival. The prefrontal cortex is a very small part of the brain. It's like a 40-bit processor, and the subconscious is 95% of the brain, and it's a huge 40 million bit processor. So it's 1,000,000 times bigger than the prefrontal cortex, which is my consciousness engaging with my environment and with you. So the difficulty actually arises when I have stored information here that is not conducive to my vibrant health or conducive to me excelling in certain fields in my life or certain spheres in my life. And that information is stored here. So no matter what I may encounter in my future on a conscious level, this runs the show. The story runs the show. So who I am is my stories, but what I am is willpower, it's consciousness, it's spirit, it's soul. I have to use a very tiny computer to rewrite programs in a huge computer that's very powerful. Therein lies the rub. But if you follow this sequence, it starts to get a little easier when you imagine yourself as a soul or a spirit or a warm, glowing ball of energy above your head that seeps into your brain and starts to rewrite programs. I am soul using my brain to produce thoughts. I am the one who has to use it. So how do I think? And I have learned over my lifetime to imagine God on the right-hand side, and I use the opposite of what God is, devil, on the left-hand side. So good, evil, light, dark, joy, stress, health, disease, alkaline acid, everything I want to aspire towards on the right-hand side with the Creator and with positivity and abundance and joy and peace and love. And what I want to avoid is on the left-hand side. So each time I create a thought, I start to observe what kind of thought that is. I know you're going to tell me it's tedious, but it's my brain and I want to use it wisely. How about you? Do you just want your brain to run awry like a mad mouse in a maze? I don't want that. I want peace. I want the right-hand side. So I use these two hands to guide me how to live my life actually. So I am thinking. It's just an electrical response to the environment and to what is stored in my brain, because when I'm not engaging with my environment, I'm engaging with information stored in my brain, and it just keeps running on and on and on. It's like your mind has a mind of its own. So what's important to note here is that the mind does not think. It's the brain that thinks. It's just a physical organ, a computer, and I am using it. I, soul, am using a physical organ to think with, and I have to get a control over it. So I observe each thought I make. Tedious, yes, but it has paid off, because over these long years up to 65, if I observe myself now and I see how I live my life, it is a lot more beautiful now than it ever has been before. And that's simply from practicing how to use my brain wisely. Each thought I make, good thought, a good chemical is released, because the relationship from here to the body is electrochemical. So here we go, electrical from there to there, and as soon as you create a thought, a good thought, good chemicals are released that flood your bloodstream and make you feel a particular way, and that makes you behave a certain way too. So that is the sequence of the creation of your life's experiences, from top down, from nothing to something. And it's not the other way around, where I'm a physical body trying to have a spiritual experience. I'm a spiritual being trying to have a human awakening. And I am here for a limited period of time. It's once again this energy visiting, and it's like Creator says go, and you have a ticket to be on a spaceship that is spinning on its axis and traveling around the sun at 108,000 kilometers per hour. No speed bumps, no wobbles, no seat belts required. Plenty of fresh air, plenty of good food, but of course all that's changing now due to human greed. But here I am, and it's like I have that ticket, and on that ticket is an expiry date. To a large degree, I am determining that expiry date, and I will offer you in the next video a biological based plan on how to extend your lifespan and create an equal health span. So the first principle is that I am just like you, 4 aspects of being human. I think, and then I can put an additional segment there: speak, feel, and do or behave. So I'm constantly observing, what am I thinking, right hand or left hand? How am I speaking? How am I feeling? How am I behaving? Of course, there are many times I go to the left hand side. I mean, it's really challenging when somebody cuts in front of me on the freeway to be on the right hand side. So sometimes, yes, I allow myself to go there. And just as sometimes there's a storm in Mother Nature, I go there and I feel it too. I observe it. I don't try to just cover over everything and hold it within myself, and someday it ruptures into a cancer or a pestilence that pours out of my body. I feel it, and then I let it go. It's like a capsule that I just spit out of my body, and then I get back to the right hand side. The left hand side used to be my default setting. I function from here and try to be a little good on the right hand side, but this is where I live from. But it was a challenge over many years to move from the left to the right, and I'm glad to say that this is my default setting now. And when I go there with the devil, I know how to get back here very easily. So it's been a task, but you know what? Here it is. It is a simple formula. I think, speak, feel, behave. This is the sequence of the creation of my life's experiences. When I mismanage these 3 instruments, I have mental, emotional, and physical disease. And I understand that as a human being in man's world, where there are people who control this world, that I have been trained by the system to give up the responsibility of all 4 instruments that I am to some institution out there. The first one, the soul that I am, the spirit that I am, in some building that is stereotyped shape for different groups on a Tuesday, Friday, or a Sunday. My mental, emotional state of health is handled by some other department in the medical industry, just as my physical body is by someone who studies for 7 years and ends up with bad handwriting. And what am I supposed to do? Yes, I've been to school, I've fit into the system, I graduate from there and then go into the corporate world and put my shoulder to the wheel and push and push and push. I've been shaped, chiseled and geared to fit like a little cog in there. And someday this big wheel will spit me out as a mirthless heap called retirement age. I often refer to this principle as contemporary spiritual enlightenment. We often think about spiritual enlightenment as something that is reserved for special people that must go sit in the Himalayas with their legs crossed like pretzels, appearing holier than thou with streaks of ashes and beads around their neck. But contemporary spiritual enlightenment simply just means that spirit that I am, or the soul that I am, just needs to learn how to use these 3 instruments. Enlightenment means to know, which is of course the opposite of ignorance, which is darkness and I don't know. Consciousness, unconscious. If you fell over after getting knocked on the head, unconscious, you wake up and you want to know what happened. Inform me. So consciousness is information, it's light. Darkness is, I don't know. There's no information. So contemporary spiritual enlightenment simply means the spirit learning to use these three instruments wisely. And that for me is enlightenment. I know how to be human. And I've moved from just human being, which is description of a form, which is no responsibility attached to that, to being human, which means that I know now that I'm energy, that I'm soul, that I'm spirit. I know now that my body is made up of 11 of the 92 elements that make up the planet. That when it dies, it's completely recyclable. It's from dust to dust. That humans in man's world have produced 24 synthetic elements, a combination of which gives us everything artificial on the planet. So I understand that plastic world, I understand the real world. I live in my world now, this world within my skin, and I understand better now how to manage these four instruments. But I also know from working with the many thousands of people that come to my internationally patronized health and wellness center, that when somebody is sick, when their physical body is not well, that it is very hard to help them on these subtler levels of being human, that I have to help them fix their bodies first. There's no use in scraping, painting and polishing the top floor, the penthouse of a tall high-rise building which is somebody's life, while the foundation is not good. So let's talk about your physical body. Let's talk about any diseases that you may be suffering from and demystify how diseases form in your body and how simple it is to reverse practically any disease, provided it is not too far gone into its degenerate stage.